For this month's mystery envelope challenge, we received this package from Angie Nickelson. And it says, for April 25th, 2026 mystery envelope challenge, I challenge you to create a layout documenting a day trip you'd like to scrapbook. It can be about anywhere you went that you could get there and back home in a day. And she gives some examples. In the envelope, you'll find assorted strips of DSP because the second part of the challenge is to utilize these papers plus some strips from your stash to create a layout. That is designed with the use of scraps in mind. And the last part is to utilize fussy cutting in some way on your layout. And she gives some examples of fussy cutting. Enjoy the challenge and the creative process. So there's an assortment of these papers, and this is a specialty paper from a workshop, I believe. This one is two-sided. There's this one, and it's two-sided. Here's this with the little ivy vines that are embossed on it, and here's this one, and that might be from Peaceful Garden. I'm not sure what all of these are from. And then she made this darling little portfolio or folder. Isn't that adorable? And inside she has some little goodies, some sprigs or leaves that are cut, and then these are cut from the mushroom papers that we had last year, which I absolutely loved. And I think she used the Spotlight on Nature dies here. And then we also have some things that are die cut. I think it says something about a getaway, maybe. So those are adorable. And she had also posted to us online that if we could not use these strips of paper, we could use something else. But I did measure, and these are 2 by 10. So I'm not sure how much of this I will use, but I'm going to use the inspiration of 2 inches by 10 inches. And I'm going to probably bring in papers from Cute as a Bug and what was the other one? Turtley Cute, I think is what I'm going to do, because we took our granddaughters to Imagination Station, which was downtown Toledo one day, and I have a ton of pictures from that day. So I started with this 12 by 12 file folder, and I'm going to use that on the right hand side and put it in a top loading protector after I do my whole layout. And next, for the left hand side, I'm going to cut a 1-inch frame from Azure Afternoon. I'm going to put it in my cutter with 1 inch off to the right hand side and then cut up from the 11-inch mark to the 1-inch mark, and then rotate the paper 90 degrees and put it at the 1-inch mark on the right again, and cut up from the 11-inch mark up to the 1-inch mark on my rail. And I do that 4 times, and then I get this nice blue frame. And then I take a piece of white willow cardstock that is cut to 11 by 11, and I'm going to glue it down to this Azure Afternoon frame. And so that will give me a 1/2 inch border all the way around my page. I really like how that looks. Then I went back and I actually cut a 1/2 inch frame for the right hand side. I'm not going to show this whole process because it took a little bit of time, but I cut a frame and put it on the right hand side, putting down a strip on the inside that's a 1/2 inch, and I added a little tab with the back side of that 2-sided cardstock for the Azure Afternoon, and it makes the tab stick out just a little bit more. Next, I'm bringing in papers from turtly cute and cute as a bug, and I am cutting them to strips of 2 by 10 because the papers that Angie had sent us were all strips of 2 by 10. And then I'm going to use those for the main part of the background on my layouts. And so I also brought in the Azure Afternoon Classic Stampin' Pad, and I am just holding the edges of these designer series papers down in that ink, and it will absorb up into the paper and give me a nice blue border. It really makes these stand out quite a bit more on my page. And then I think I want the strips to be kind of staggered up and down all across the background on both the left and the right side. And so I'm going to glue these all down, trying to leave a pretty equal border around. And when I did it, I did like the 2 outside pieces, then I did the middle piece, and it just helps me keep things even when I work that way. Next, I'm working on how I want to lay out the pictures for my layout. And on the left, you didn't see the process, but those pictures on the left are all double matted with a 1/16 of an inch border for the double mats. Okay, now on the right hand side, I have those bordered just like regular, I would say it's like 1/8 of an inch around. And then on the inside of this file folder, I'm going to also do the same process where I'm going to put the inked edges around the outside, and I actually have this laid on its side because you can't really see the up and down very well. You would not get as close of a look. And so I staggered those across the 2 pages, and now I'm working on figuring out how I want my layout for my pictures. And the pictures at the top, I actually did come in and matte those. Some of them I matted in that Azure Afternoon Blue, and some of them in that yellow DSP print. And those are all matted with, I cut the mats like 1/4 inch bigger than the picture. So you have an 1/8 inch border all the way around those pictures. The pictures that are going to be at the bottom, I did not matte, but 2 of those spots at the bottom that's barely on the screenshot there will have, those will have flip flaps on them. So I didn't worry with mats. It's going to be busy enough. I don't think people really noticed, and it's tucked inside the portfolio. And so that's how I did the inside. So after I finished these 2 pages, I still had a ton of photos left. And so I brought in a pocket page that I still had in my stash from Close to My Heart. And I'm just going to put all of these pictures that are in portrait orientation inside these little pockets. And I really like that they just slide in, and I can get so many pictures in this. And, you know, I could even make some of these like flip flap out if I wanted to add more. But I think it's just going to be about the perfect number because I have 10 more pictures. So I'm going to put 5 on the front here, and I'll put 5 more on the back. And that will give me one spot that I can use for journaling on both sides. So there were so many different areas that the girls could play at Imagination Station. And so I have quite a bit that I want to say and talk about what they enjoyed at this day trip that we took to Toledo. Tell me down in the comments, how do you like to journal? Do you like to leave a journaling spot like under a flip flap so not everybody sees it? Or do you like to do like strip journaling on your layouts? Or what is your favorite way to do journaling on your layouts? Okay, now let's move on to the title. So I took a piece of that diagonal striped paper and I'm going to stamp up my title. I'm using Azure Afternoon Stampin' Pad, and I'm going to use my Stampin' platform from Stampin' Up, and this will be available, I believe, in just about a week and a half. And it was available for a demonstrator sign-up special earlier this year, but it's going to be available to everybody. So that's going to be great. So I really like it too. Next, I'm going to come in and stamp with Poppy Parade, and this is just the word perfect that I'm going to put between these two lines of the blue that says, oh, what a day. And so it'll say, oh, what a perfect day. So here I am taking that off of my stamp set, and it says a perfect, and I already have the word a on that first line of stamps, so I don't need that repeated. So I just cut off that extra little a, and I will stamp this here. Then before I trim this down, I realize I still need to do fussy cutting someplace on my layout. So I decide what better place than on the title. So I'm going to fussy cut around the title, and then once I get it all completed, then I'm going to come back and fussy cut another layer of the light side two-tone cardstock for Azure Afternoon. The title just didn't stand out enough without some blue behind it. So I think this will work perfect. And then once I get that on and fussy cut out again, then I'm going to be able to pop dot it up on my layout. The other thing that I still have not gotten around to yet is putting some sort of embellishments on my page. And I really struggled to know what kind of embellishments to do. I thought I could put a bunch of like gears from the Gears and Texture, which would be really cute, but my girls didn't really spend a lot of time in that area that the gears would have went with. And I do have this polka dot paper, and they liked playing with the balls, and I have the whole page that's the right side of my layout that shows them with that ball refinery and also with the hose that made the balls stay up in the air. And so I'm like, there's something I can surely do with the balls. And so what I decided was I would take my scraps, because Angie said we needed to do something with scraps. And I cut out like 3 different sizes of circles using punches. So I had a 1-inch circle. Oh, the next one was probably about a 1.5-inch circle, and the other one was around a 2-inch circle. And I cut a bunch of my scraps, the circles, and that's what I decided to make my little clusters out of. And there's nothing else, no gems, no sparkles, just circles, just balls, because that was something that the circles go along with the paper. It coordinates with, I don't know if you can tell, that strip of paper that's the blue, the Azure Afternoon. It's the light side of Azure Afternoon, and it is embossed with the dotted circles 3D embossing folder. And so there's dots on that, circles everywhere. And so I'm just going to use circles. And I go in and I made sure I did my journaling for both spots in my pocket pages. And then the second one still had some room at the bottom. So I figured what better spot then to put some more of our circles and another cluster of circles. And so I put that at the bottom of my journaling spot. And then I go over to the right hand side and I will add some circles at the bottom left, right above that tab, so that it kind of draws attention down to that tab. And I think of these embellishment areas as something that helps the eye flow across the layout. So you see all of them have like top left and then down to the middle, and then this next one will come up again to the top right. So it really draws the eye around the page, but when it comes down to that bottom part, you'll see that little tab and that kind of sticks out. And I decided I'm not going to put any of these on the inside because it's kind of busy enough. And once I put this file folder down inside that top loading page protector, you see that's what I'm doing right here, then I will be able to put my flip flaps on the inside part of that layout, and that will be enough busyness going on by the time you have to lift the whole page up and then you have flip flaps inside. So you can see this layout is very interactive with that right hand page. And then I put a flip flap here, and I believe I even journaled inside of that about the girls in the plane. That was the only one that they just really weren't too sure about. They liked all the areas, but they weren't so sure about that. And then I journaled right on one of those strips, and this is us at Texas Roadhouse. And yes, it's all about the rolls and the cinnamon butter once we go there. And so there you go. This is pretty much all complete now. So I did a layout. I used some fussy cutting on my titles. I used scraps for all of my little circles. I used the strips that were 2 by 10 that were inspired from the pretty elements that Angie sent us. They just didn't match this layout, but I think I fulfilled all the requirements that she had for us. And I got, I don't know, would you call it a layout, 2 layouts, 3 layouts? There's a lot of pictures here. That's all I know. My goodness, 13, 14, 15, 16 pictures before you open it up and have quite a few more. So I got a lot of pictures on this, and it's very interactive. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you check out the other girls that are part of the Inspiration Collaboration Design team and see what they have for you. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more crafty inspiration.